Hi, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Ben Johns, and I want to talk today about psychology and the importance of narratives, both personal and in storytelling. Before my current career path as assisting philanthropists in mission-centered work in relationship development as a major gifts officer, I studied psychology at Seattle's Antioch University and got my master's degree there, and it changed my life. I didn't end up in that career path, but it has given me an education that, of course, no one can take away. I always tell people that about their own academic pursuits, encouraging anything where you reach that milestone, like self-publishing, which I've done with my book, Rogue for Peace. And so I want to talk about psychology, what matters most. I made a list here just because I wanted to make sure to cover some stuff. I was impacted by learning about art therapy, by childhood systems, family systems of attachment, neuroscience. I love Daniel Siegel's work in particular. That's actually spelled right on my screen. That's lovely. And I like Worden's theory of grief. That's Worden. And for those of you who are into more pop culture, Kubler-Ross stuff, I really encourage you to look at Worden's tasks involving grief. And I really love Carl Rogers, person-centered therapy, and Carl Jung, whose work is more artistic than scientific as it relates to the psyche and that so-called first wave of psychology, where the layers of self that we all know through Freud and subsequent understanding of psychology over the years. I'm not a big fan of data-based analysis of human behavior. I know we live in an era where data is king, but there's so much more to the self, so much more poetry and art and nuance and things that I don't think that looking at ones and zeros or mathematical equations about what people's behavior may or may not be, predictive analyses, blah, blah, blah. There's plenty of that in the world already, not my jam. So when it comes to art and Carl Jung related mythology of the self, the hero's journey, things that you might see in pop culture as well. Certainly the Star Wars trilogy was influenced by mythology and collaboration in these realms. I think that it's important to look at what narratives we tell, what stories we tell historically. What do we think are the main points of emphasis in all great stories? Because there are only so many. And then looking one layer deeper, what are the stories that we tell about ourselves? To others and to ourselves. Are they flexible? Are they growing? Are they static in time? And therefore, there's blockage of potential future growth. I would add that I'm also really interested in yoga philosophy. So when it comes to narrative therapy, or what you would call creating a narrative in order to maximize one's own potential or the potential of characters that we are creating, I think it's interesting to know that all art is a form of self-portrait. And so let's assume that's the case, or entertain the idea anyway. And when it came to my own personal experiences, you can read in the back of my author bio about my personal experiences with addiction to marijuana and alcohol and the recovery path, as well as discovering that I had untreated bipolar episodes, which were creating some manic events or paranoias, which I've since unpacked and healed from. And the way I did that was not in a therapist's office. It was, in fact, through what I call alternate narrative therapy. I would expose myself to these old memories and explore their fictional qualities as a way of processing memories, but also as a way of extracting something interesting and fascinating about my psyche that had rendered these stories based on intoxication or confusion or episodes where my realities were altered. And I took the venom out of the sting of these memories by journaling about it. And eventually it led to piecing together of storylines and themes. And in my writing, I always return to these memories of episodes because they're fascinating to me and because there was something genuine that I was uncovering about what I thought mattered to my own existence, to my own relationship with life and death, to my relationship with people, to the intrigue of artifice versus reality, superficiality versus greater depths of the self, who we present ourselves, who we think we are, and these questions of loyalty and ultimate calling in life and the hero's journey. So when I write, it's all fun and fast paced, and on the surface, it seems just like a story that's cooking along and hopefully with some intriguing characters like Wilder, Katya, and Hawthorne, for those of you who've read my work. Those are intriguing characters who are on their own journeys, and mostly it's entertaining, but a layer deeper, without being overly hitting you over the head with themes, these characters have something deeper that they're going after, which is their discovery of their own calling, their purpose. What are they willing to fight and die for? And this is all in the auspices of a spy novel, which is specifically meant to entertain and be fun. But the narrative therapy component, assuming that all art is a self-portrait, it can't be overlooked. And whatever your narratives may be, whatever your interests in narratives may be, I really believe that, as they say in neuroscience, your neurons wire where your neurons fire. And there is great healing not in coming to places of love and hope and joy and creating some weird landscape where we ignore the pain and suffering of the world and we just say, I am only what I meditate on or whatever. I'm here to say a little bit of fuck that, because I think that leaning into the challenges of what is at the core of our own rendering of the problems that we face individually, collectively, and as humanity, I think leaning into those gnarly stories of what we see in pop culture, suspense thrillers, horror movies, not my thing, but I get it. Those challenges, even superhero storylines, are tackling fundamental questions and doing so in a really entertaining fashion. I had an old yoga teacher who mentioned the Matrix and why did it need a violent metaphor to talk about something so powerful at the core, which is the themes of the Matrix. I won't bore you because you've seen it, presumably. We need those violent things in order to be vehicles for a greater story. And anyway, blah, 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 blah. I hope you enjoyed listening to my discussion here, however informal, about psychology and the importance of narratives, both personally and in our artistic endeavors. Be well. Peace.